Spanish reflexive verbs. They can feel like a real headache, right? But what if I told you it's not about memorizing a bunch of complicated rules, but about making one simple shift in how you think? In this explainer, we're going to break down the 5 most common mistakes people make so you can finally start using these verbs with total confidence. Let's jump in.
I bet this has happened to you. You say, yo levanto a las 7, and you're feeling pretty good about it, but the person you're talking to just gives you this confused look. Yeah, it's that classic super frustrating moment every single one of us goes through when learning Spanish. But here's the thing, and this is the big secret. It's not you. It's not that the verbs are just impossibly difficult. The real issue is that Spanish and English have a totally different logic. Spanish is kind of obsessed with who is doing what and who they're doing it to. Once you get that, everything starts to click.
So let's dive into mistake number 1. This is probably the biggest and most fundamental error of them all. Just forgetting one tiny crucial little word. Just look at how one tiny word completely flips the meaning. When you say yo levanto, you're saying I lift, but you lift what? The sentence just hangs there, incomplete. By adding me, you're specifying that the action of lifting is being done to yourself. You're literally saying, I get myself up. That is the heart of what a reflexive verb is. So, these are your best friends when it comes to reflexive verbs. These are the pronouns you have to use. Think of them as the required sidekick for the verb. You just can't have one without the other. They're the signal that says, hey, the action is happening back on the subject. Okay, so you've remembered to use the pronoun. Awesome, that's a huge step. But now, where exactly do you put it? That's the next big hurdle. You know, our English-speaking brains just want to stick that little pronoun somewhere else, right? It feels natural to put it after the verb, but that's why this is so trippy. In Spanish, saying yo levanto me just doesn't work. It sounds wrong because the pronoun has its own special spot.
So here's the golden rule, and it's super simple. With a single conjugated verb, the pronoun goes right before it. Me levanto. Te duchas. Se acuesta. See? It's a nice, clean pattern you can totally rely on. Okay, but what happens when you have 2 verbs? Like when you're saying, I am going to do something? Well, here's the cool part. Spanish gives you 2 perfectly correct options. You can either stick the pronoun before the very first verb, me voy a acostar, or you can glue it onto the end of the second verb, voy a acostarme. Both are 100% correct. The only real mistake is trying to wedge it in the middle. Don't do that. All right, so now you're getting the hang of it. You're throwing pronouns in there, but there's a new danger on the horizon, doing it too much. Let's talk about reflexive overkill. This happens all the time when we're translating directly from English in our heads. We think, I'm eating my dinner, and that makes us want to add that myself feeling. But in Spanish, me como la cena sounds, well, a little weird. It puts this strange emphasis on the act of eating being done to you. For a simple action like eating dinner, you just eat dinner. Como la cena. That's it. So here's the key takeaway. Just ask yourself, is the action happening to me or to something else? If it's directed at the food, the drink, or the book, you don't need that reflexive pronoun. It's as simple as that. Now we get to what I think is one of the coolest and most fascinating parts of reflexive verbs. Sometimes, adding that little pronoun doesn't just clarify the action. It completely changes the meaning of the verb itself. Let's take the verb ir, to go. Voy a casa means I'm going home. Simple, it's about a destination. But when you make it reflexive, irse, suddenly it's not about where you're going, it's about the act of leaving. Me voy de la fiesta means I'm leaving the party. It's about the departure. Big difference. Here's another fantastic example. Dormir just means to sleep. It's the general state of being asleep. But dormirse, that's the specific moment you fall asleep. So when you say, me duermo a las 11, you're saying, I fall asleep at 11. It's that transition from awake to asleep. Super subtle, right? But also really powerful. All right, let's tackle our 5th and final common mistake, and this one is all about making sure everything matches up. Okay, take a look at this. The verb is levantamos, which we know is for nosotros, for we. But the pronoun here is se, which is for he, she, or they. They don't match. It's like wearing 2 different shoes. Since we are the ones getting up, we need the we pronoun, which is nos. The bottom line is, the pronoun and the subject have to be a team. They have to match. Yo always pairs with me. Tu always pairs with te. If you're ever stuck, just ask yourself, who's doing the action? The answer tells you exactly which pronoun you need to use, every single time.
Okay, so we've covered the 5 biggest pitfalls. Are you ready to see if it's all sunk in? Let's do a quick little challenge.
All right, first one. Take a look. En la ducha, por la mañana. What's wrong with this picture? What do we need to add, and where does it need to go?
Boom! There it is. She is showering herself, right? So we need that reflexive pronoun. That was mistake number 1. And because the subject is ella, we use se, and it slots in right before the verb. Perfect. Okay, one more. How about this one? Tú se despiertas temprano. We have a pronoun this time, but is it the right one? You got it. This is a classic example of mistake number 5, the subject mismatch. The subject is tú, so the pronoun has to be te. Tú te despiertas. Excellent work.
So after all that, if you remember just one thing from this whole explainer, let it be this one simple question. Whenever you're looking at a verb and you're just not sure, ask yourself, is the person doing the action to themselves? If the answer is yes, you need that reflexive pronoun. If it's no, you probably don't. That really is the golden rule that cuts through all the confusion.